So, when are we coming back to church at Waterbrook Bible Fellowship? That's the big question. That's what people have been asking. And as leaders, we have been working on that plan for more than 9 weeks. Even as we were going into our response to the pandemic, we were already talking about what does it look like on the other side. And as we're at that point and starting to implement those things, we have had to ask some difficult questions. We've had to tackle some difficult topics and changing processes. So far, we've had to move and pivot with every whim of a press conference, whether it's the governor or the president or the CDC. And we finally, as leaders, decided to step back and to take control of the ship. To be able to say, we need to know what we're doing. We know what our values are. We know what our vision statement is. We want to plan so that we are making and growing disciples in Wiley and beyond, and we're engaging our vision statement to be who we are called to be at Waterbrook Bible Fellowship. So we've stepped back and we've taken control of what we do and how we do it. And I want to talk today about what that means as we implement returning to church over the next weeks ahead. Our values, as we talk together as leaders, are number one, to glorify God. With all that we do, that's the beginning of our vision statement, to glorify God by making and growing disciples in Wiley and beyond. That glorifying God is the key question to everything. But secondly, it is, how do we engage everyone? We discovered by survey that about 60% of our church family would not be running back to church. We've heard from those of you who are ready to come back tomorrow, and we know that. But there are many more, a majority of people who say, I won't come back right away. I need to know how things will be safe, how things will operate, and what procedures we have in place. And as we're developing children's ministry and what that looks like in our student ministry and even our adult classes, we've had to say, well, if we can't bring everyone back together, then to try and to take maybe a half of the congregation and leave the other half online, or to split up even a third and 2/3, makes it difficult for us to minister to everyone. So to engage everyone, we've decided to stay online primarily as we start into the summer. Our third value is safety, and safety for all. This means those who are in compromised categories, who are immunosuppressed, or who are older. We have to be careful of those, and we've had to develop some new policies and procedures that we're still working on, to be honest with you. The fourth value is our witness to the community. We want our community to know that believers are concerned. We're concerned about the physical well-being, the health of those in our church family and in our community. For that reason, we're a little slower. We're figuring out how we keep things sanitized, how we observe social distancing and keep people safe. But we're also concerned about the mental and spiritual health of our members and of those in our community. So to bring all of those things together, to glorify God, to try and engage everyone, to create a system that is safe for everyone, and to maintain our witness in the community, we've made some decisions, and there are a couple things I want you to know. First of all, we're coming back. Waterbrook is coming back. We have never stopped worshiping together. It's been happening in homes, it's happening online, but we've had prayer gatherings. Our student ministry has been meeting online with teaching that our leaders have been creating, and then interaction and worship nights with our student ministry, and game nights even that they've done online. Kudos to Pastor John and our student ministry and all of our leaders for developing those kind of plans. Our children's ministry with Pastor Ween, she's every week been a part of our worship service, and she's had a message for children in every worship service. We added that because we were online. We've also had a song in each worship service that is designed and geared towards kids so that everyone in the family can worship together. Pastor Ween has also sent out each week our incredibly, wonderfully produced children's material, the videos that come that are for teaching, the curriculum that you can get at Drive-Thru Church. So we've been working the whole time on the process of coming back and making sure we're not leaving anyone behind, that we're engaging everyone even while you've been at home. We've been more successful and less successful with that on different areas of ministry and that we've been working on. But part of our taking the opportunity to take a breath and step back and say, okay, we're going to develop a longer term plan here, is the ability for our leaders to say, how do each of our ministries function then for about the next 2 months online and starting the process in a couple of stages of coming back together. But the second thing that's really important, if the truth that we're coming back is important, so is the fact that we're not judging anyone. There are churches who will take different approaches, who will come back faster and slower. We don't judge them. There are individuals who will be back at church right away, and some who will say, I don't feel safe enough to come back. We're not judging you. People have to make decisions based on their own circumstances. And there is no playbook for how you lead church in a global pandemic. So we've had to make this up and try and be conscious of all of these issues all along. So we have been developing new ministry plans, new ministry teams, new ministry procedures. I want to explain them just a little bit to you today. First of all, stage one began back on May 4th when we brought the entire staff back into the office. We said that everyone could come back. They've been working from home by and large, although our office had been open, but with a limit of 2 staff members in the office in the first stage of what we were doing. We also had 10 people at worship, and we held to that. Then as things began to open up, we brought our worship band back so that they could be live in our worship service on Sunday mornings. That expanded even the people who were at our worship service. Now here's what happens in stage 2, and this takes place in June and July. Our worship will remain primarily online. We will have some special groups in on our Graduate Recognition Sunday. We're bringing all of our high school graduates in with their parents, get to be in the worship service live. We have a week on May 31st. We're going to have a day for those 65 and older or immunocompromised where everyone will wear masks, where we will make sure that everything will just be hyper clean that day, and it will be a safe service for those who have been isolated but desperately want to get back to church. We'll have some other special days over the next couple of months where we will invite a select and small group that allows us to meet within certain percentages and to apply social distancing within our auditorium. All of that will be happening because we want to see everyone who wants to come back and be here quicker. Drive-through church will continue with interaction with staff. We can pray with you. The donuts we've been getting at drive-through church and children's curriculum and offering, those things will continue to happen. And the pregame show will continue for those of you who have enjoyed that. But it's just a way for us to interact and to talk about things going on, and we appreciate your involvement with that as well. Now, one interesting change in this next stage is that our Harbor ministry, it's our worship service for young adults, will be able to re-engage. As I explained to those leaders, they're sort of our test group for how we can do worship services with some of the new guidelines. They're a smaller group. They can fit within the auditorium with all the social distancing rules. They're going to start to implement our new sanitation procedures and how we make sure things are cleaned after every use. And so I appreciate our young adults who are willing to step to the front of that, and that will remain just a young adult service on Sunday evenings, but they will start back in June, and they'll sort of lead the way for what we learn in the process. Small groups are going to start meeting. We encourage home teams and other small Bible studies or small groups to get together. We need that face-to-face interaction, and I strongly encourage you to do it while being wise and healthy about it. If you are with a group that really doesn't feel you can get together, then continue to meet online and interact in that way, in Zoom groups and things like that. Our large groups, our classes, our youth and kids ministry will primarily remain online. Our teaching opportunities for those groups, the interaction will remain in those online groups and video chats and things like that. We are introducing, because of that and our need to continue to engage everyone, we're introducing a brand new in-depth Bible study that Pastor Stephen will be leading, and it will be a video-taught lecture series followed with some online interaction with Pastor Stephen to get questions answered and to talk about applications together. We have a new Monday night check-in for parents, especially those with young kids who have been struggling with the school thing and just trying to keep life together. We're going to start a Monday evening sort of encounter online with our pastors and wives and spouses where we'll talk about and give some encouragement and see how you're doing. And so that'll start in the first Monday of June. Our kid and youth ministries, we've challenged Pastor Ween and Pastor John to do a minimum of 2 face-to-face events that are non-contact events that will start in June, and then more events that will happen in July as we work out how we do things, how we can be safe about those interactions. And so I'm excited for what those ministry teams are already putting together and you'll hear about in the weeks ahead. We're also in the process of putting together some new serving teams. Because of the health guidelines, we're losing some folks who have served in children's ministry or who have helped on different teams, and we need to replace those. We're also putting new teams in place, safety teams, new cleaning teams that will help to make sure that before and after every service, everything is ready for the next group of people. We'll be training those teams over the summer in June and July, and so primarily Sunday mornings, those teams will be on campus where we'll be training them. This is what church will look like as everyone comes back, and making sure that we're all set for August, because that's when stage 3 hits. So for right now, we plan that everyone will be back in August. Our worship services will be open. We'll do all of our services. They'll be here on campus. Everyone will be invited in. We'll still provide our online services as we already had been for a couple of years, but we'll focus on having everyone back on campus in August. Also, we'll reintroduce all of our on-campus classes, adult Bible fellowships, our kid and teen classes will all be meeting back on campus in August. By then, we'll also have all of our new health and safety guidelines worked out, trained teams on how to implement those, and ready to go so that everyone can be back on campus safely, comfortably, and as one family. Just a note about We School at Waterbrook. We had to close down We School. The leadership there made that decision very early on as schools closed. But we know that parents need childcare as they're heading back to work. And we have teachers who have been not working since the school closed down that need to come back and get some work also. So we're working on We School summer camp classes that will be occurring this summer. There'll be small classes, and it will give us an opportunity as we implement the We School weekly thing to figure out how we do children's ministry going forward. So these steps are all a way for us to learn in the process so that when we come back together, we've experimented, we've put everything in place to be as safe as we can and make everyone comfortable. So I'm going to ask you, watch for the sign-ups, ways to serve and be here live. Though we'll have some special Sundays where you might be invited in, and it will be on a registration basis for the space that we have available to fill. But if you want to be here on a Sunday morning and you're just hankering to be here with your church family, I would say the best way to do that is to sign up for one of our serving teams. It's important for us to fill all those spots, and we need new people to step into those roles. And because we'll be training those groups on Sunday mornings, that's the best way to get invited in here. But if you don't think you can do that, contact the church office, and I'll make sure you get an opportunity to be here over the next couple months at some point so that you can be here for live worship even while we're still online. Waterbrook has never been closed. We have been open through this whole process, and we will continue that, but as we open our doors on campus to more and more people, I'm excited to see you again. I really am. We've missed you. By the way, you are the ones responsible right now for outreach, evangelism, and for using your gifts while you're not here on the Waterbrook campus. That just because we're isolated, just because you're not with as many people, it doesn't mean that you aren't still called to be the believer that God has called and gifted you to be. I encourage you to look at the written response that we've put together with all the details of these stages and the thought that's gone into it. I would like for you to read that. If you have any questions, please contact us here at the office. Let us know how we can answer those questions in any way we can continue to serve you. We're coming back. We're all coming back together. We're carefully stepping forward because we know that together is where we belong, and it's how we live as believers, our life on purpose.